highlights of the Formula SimRacing World Championship for 2020, brought to you by SimLab, 3D Wrap and IMP Raceware. Today the drivers tackle 53 laps around one of the best circuits on the calendar here at Matsusaka, and with only one DRS zone it might be a little bit tricky to overtake. However, with the fast flowing nature and the really long back straight, we're going to see some awesome overtakes here, especially into the Casio Triangle. And not forgetting that the championship is still on the line between Jerne Simoncic and Peter Burlak. Today we could be crowning the champion of 2020. And qualifying certainly put good hopes into Burst and Jerne Simicic's hands, with Burst getting a 1-2-3-4, which is quite remarkable considering how tight the field is. Peter Burlak sitting there in 5th alongside Alex Siebel. Muhammed PATEL is all the way down in 10th place, and once again Jim PARISIS is struggling a bit down in 16th, but I'm sure we'll see him move up the field. With only 2 races left on the calendar, that means it's getting really tight, and Burlak is 11 points behind Jerne Simoncic, which means he really needs to beat Jerne today to have any sort of chance in Brazil, knowing how good Jerne is. However, Jerne has never won the Japanese Grand Prix. Peter Burlak is generally quite good here in the race. We'll have to see how that one works out. However, if Jerne wins the race, Peter Burlak needs to be inside the top 5, otherwise that championship is going the way of the Slovenian. Now the 5 red lights come on to start the Japanese Grand Prix. Round number 9 of 10. The championship is certainly heating up. So who's going to come out on top as we come down to turn number 1? And it seems like Jerne Simoncic has got a really good start, with Michi Hoyer coming in just behind him. From PANSAR manages to get past his sister teammate of David Mrocek into turn number 2, which leaves Peter Burlak going side by side. However, Peter just has to back out as there's a tiny bit of contact between the two in turn number 3. And everyone else seems to go through pretty nicely through the first sector. Then Muhammed PATEL coming into the hairpin, dives it on the inside of the ghost speed of Yamas Rakshok to get up another position, which is pretty good for him considering he started a little bit further down than he would have expected. Jim PARISIS is now battling with Philip Kraus coming down into turn number 1, and he touches the curb on the outside, which pushes him wide. But he's going to have to give up a couple of places there. Muhammed PATEL is trying to make some progress again as he now comes onto the back of Dennis Jordan, who's not quite as dominant as he was last time out in Zandvoort, and they go side by side into the chicane, and now they work their way out onto the one and only start-finish track with the DRS open. And now Muhammed PATEL is going to have to do the overtaking into the corner as he couldn't get it done in the chicane, so he's going to try and go on the outside. However, he just gets on that curb just like Jim PARISIS and will run out wide, losing a place to Rakshok. PANSAR comes into the pits really early on lap number 10 from 3rd place. But unfortunately he misses his pit box, and he'll have to do a little bit of reverse, which will lose him a couple of seconds. That also causes him to be undercut by Alex Siebel, which isn't good for his chances later in the race. Jerne Simoncic now comes out of the pit lane 1 lap later and gets stuck in all of this traffic, which could be crucial with how this race pans out either way. Lap later, Hoyer, Mrocek, Jordan also come in, and they get out behind Alex Siebel but ahead of Robin Panzer. 2 laps later, Peter Burlak pits quite a bit later than some of the other drivers, which means they all get ahead of him. However, Rodger goes a little bit wide, but Peter can't quite make the overtake work into turn number 2. This is going to be a difficult afternoon for him, as he's now going to be stuck on the back of the DRS train. By lap 20, Jerne Simoncic has managed to make his way through into clean air at the head of the field, with Jordi Zwiz still out on the hard tyres. Muhammed PATEL now getting past Dennis Jordan on lap 26, or trying to anyway, gets pushed off the track a little bit, slows right down, and does eventually hold the position, and nothing further will come of that, so Muhammed PATEL keeps that position. Burlak's now trying to get past David Mrocek into turn number 1 and 2, but he's struggling a little bit to make some overtakes today, as already at the halfway point in this race. A couple of laps later, on lap 29, Peter finally manages to get past, considering Mrocek didn't have any DRS. That was to be expected. Now PATEL trying to make some more moves coming into the final chicane, this time on Robin Panzer. Once again goes side by side successfully in the chicane. However, he's going to have to now defend a little bit coming down the start-finish straight. Robin's going to come back in on the outside of turn number 1, but will he get pushed out like so many drivers have? And yes, he will. This is the third driver already that we've seen who's got caught up by that exit curb. Gets overtaken by 2 drivers, including Janos Brakshock, who's having a pretty decent day behind the top few drivers. We now got Craig Baxter and Luca Di Mello coming into turn number 1. Bit of contact is made with the 2. That sends Luca all the way off, and that will be him out of the race. Thomas Wagner coming through. The second Degner has a technical issue and he will have to retire from the race as well, which is a bit disappointing considering how promising he's been this season. Lap 33, Simicic comes in once again for another set of the hard tyres, which was a little bit earlier than the likes of Peter Burlak, who's going to stay out for a while, trying to potentially use a set of these softer compound tyres at the end of the race. However, Petter out on old tyres, slides through the final chicane, and that's not going to help his chances of doing any sort of overcut. Him and Patel are staying out, presumably trying to go on the set of the medium compound tyres, which Petter does a few laps later on lap 37. However, he's been once again undercut by everyone, and he's going to have to try and make this work in the final 15 laps of the race. As he now sends it down the inside of Robin Panzer, trying to get Robin a little bit offline before we come out onto the start-finish straight, where he will have the DRS and obviously potentially the quality boost as well. Robin defends a little bit, however, Petter just had too much overspeed there and makes up that position. Patel now has pit for a set of these soft compound tyres and is really going for this in this final stint. First opponent is Robin Panzer, who gets through fairly easily into the spoon corner. Mocek struggling a little bit now. He hasn't got the DRS, and Jordan comes past as well, who elected to take those medium compound tyres as well as Burlak in the final stint. Now Burlak trying to get past Mocek, but once again a little bit of contact between the two. These two having a race-long battle. And once again, Petter is going to have to try and get past down into turn number 1. But what can the Croatian do this time around? He's going to go for the outside. Remember, it's crucial that he makes points up for Jene Simicic for the title. But oh, he has a bit of issue there coming to turn number 1. Don't know what happened there, but Burlak is going to be out of this race, and that is going to be championship game over for him. Let's see what happened as he comes around the outside. This was the moment he really needed, and it seems that his wheel disconnected as the axis goes straight to the left. And that'll be him out of this race and out of this championship, which means we will be crowning Jene Simicic here this afternoon if he can finish inside the top 4. Patel now on the inside of Mocek, up the inside of Spoon Corner, another position for him. But that is not there, as he's now going to come past Dennis Jordan. Last race winner, Dennis Jordan, struggled a bit here, as Patel gets past him for 5th place despite starting down in 10th. And that is not going to be everything, as look who is just ahead of him. Firstly, Janos Brakshock is there, so that is Patel up into 4th place. It seems that these soft tyres was really the best strategies. He's got so much more grip than all these drivers at the end of the race. And now he slides past Siebel fairly easily down into turn 1 as well. So that is Patel onto the podium on this alternate strategy. Jordis Veers has done a hard, soft strategy, and he's trying to make up some places towards the end of the race, but he almost kills that opportunity. But fortunately, he manages to keep it out of the walls. Boyce slides down the inside of Mocek, at least trying to put him offline a little bit. Now the Dutch driver is getting all over the back of Mocek. Remember, Mocek is fighting for the Constructors' title against his own Burst sister team and Evolution, so positions like this are not what he wants to lose. Now Jordis Vaz is trying to go around the outside of Jordan into turn number 1 and 2, but Jordan's going to hold it on the inside, but Veers round the outside with so much more grip, makes it work, and the Dutchman has made himself up into 6th place. Now on to the final lap of the race. Patel trying to get Hoyer for 2nd place. It's been incredible achievement. It's going to go down the inside, but Hoyer's going to just squeeze him off enough to stop the British driver getting that place. But it is Jene Simicic who will be crowned the 2020 World Champion. That is back-to-back titles which we haven't seen for quite some years since Bono House did in 2013 and 14, and that ends the run of having a different champion every single year since 2014. So congratulations to him, his first win in Japan, sealing his second Formula Sim Racing World Championship title. Such a shame for Peter Burlak. He did everything that he could this year, but a couple of races just didn't quite go the way that he wanted, and having that wheel disconnect really finished off his chances. But there is still one more race in Brazil for them to sort out the drivers and constructors standings, as it's starting to hot up there. So Yannis Simicic ended up winning the race by 5 seconds from Michi Hoya, who just held on to Patel in third place. Siebel getting a good result in fourth, with Jordan in seventh. That is going to give their championship hopes a good boost as they're trying to win the constructors. Mrozek struggled a little bit down in eighth, and Robin Panzer as well in ninth place will be a little bit disappointed, with Tom Sadley picking up the final point as we move towards the final race of the season already, and that is what this year is going to be. It's a little bit shorter than most. You've got to make every single race count, and unfortunately Peter Burlak has had 2 DNFs in the 9 races so far. So Yannis Simicic has a 36-point lead coming into the final race. However, in the constructors, there's only a 1-point gap between Burst Simplexity, which is Hoya, and Mrozek, ahead of Evolution. Then Burst Rear Toro are not too far behind, trying to battle with Edge Esports, but Edge will need an absolute perfect run if they're going to get that third place. So the next race of the season will be the finale on the 9th of August from Sao Paulo in Brazil. So until then, this has been a Formula Sim Racing World Championship brought to you by SimLab 3D Wrap and IMB Raceware. And until then, we wish you a very warm goodbye. Hello and welcome to highlights of the Formula Sim Racing World Championship brought to you by 3D Wrap, SimLab and IMB Raceware, here for round number 9 at the Japanese Grand Prix.